Wealth with Homer Smith. I'm your host, Ryan Ruff. We've got, of course, the star of our show, Mr. Homer Smith of Convergent Wealth Partners, joining us momentarily. But look, first and foremost, we want to thank you, our audience, for taking a moment out of your day to join us here for the episode, whether that is on our Facebook live stream currently, or if you're checking us out after the fact on a different streaming platform. All the same, great to have you with us. Now, I will say, for those that are joining us here on the Facebook live stream today, if you have any questions or any comments at all, that pop into your head as Homer and I are going through our conversation today, feel free to chime in during, in that comment box below. We'd love to hear from you, answer a question maybe if we have some time towards the end, but we'd love to hear from you, hear where you're watching from, and just engage with you overall, because we appreciate you being here. But hey, that being said, look, we've got a great episode planned for you guys today. Homer and I, as you probably know already, we spend a lot of time talking about wealth management, wealth preservation as a whole. Today, we're taking a little bit of a different approach here. We're diving into wealth generation. Yeah, that's right. Actually making the money itself. So the topic of the day is, do you have what it takes to create significant wealth? So to kind of frame it for you, research shows that entrepreneurship can be one of the most effective ways to become wealthy overall, right? But it takes a lot more than simply being a business owner to generate wealth. I think that almost goes without being said. So that being said, today we're going to dive into exactly what these 4 key drivers can be of business. That's drivers of business, as well as financial success. And these are these 4 key ingredients, if you will, that can, propel a business owner to find success and generate that level of significant wealth. So with that, let's go ahead and bring out Homer to get today's conversation started. Homer, how you doing today? Good to see you.
I'm well, Ryan. Good to see you as well.
Great to have you back, as always, here on the show. And I'm excited about today's topic because it is struck from a different vein, if you will. We're talking about wealth generation today, but, being an entrepreneur, that's something that you're also familiar with. I mean, hey, here you are at Convergent Wealth Partners. You've walked this walk. So let's start though.
Yeah, I wanted to actually point that out, and why I really like this topic is, the beauty of working with business owners as one of the primary groups of clients that I work with is, I'm a business owner as well. And so learning what other successful business owners are doing to generate that wealth, to create that success within their business, it's great because, I'm constantly learning and trying to figure out how to be better within my own business. So these types of topics are great because it also forces me to examine, what am I doing? Am I doing everything I need to do to create the same kind of success of the business owners that I'm working with as well? So I really enjoy this topic.
Sure. Yeah. It's true collaboration between you and your clients going on at all times. And we know that from our past conversations, but Homer, to kind of get us started here, so there's a strong case, right, that entrepreneurship is really this true generator of significant wealth, correct? Like, to walk me through why it's entrepreneurship that seems to be this hot topic when it comes to creating wealth.
I think most business owners are aware that probably the most likely path to significant wealth is entrepreneurship, creating a business or improving on an existing business. And, maybe the easiest way to see that is if you look at things like the Forbes list each year, other groups that put together, lists of the wealthiest people. Most often the wealthiest people are those that created or improved upon a business. So I think it's, while it's not the most certain, it's not certain that, being an entrepreneur is going to lead to that significant wealth. It's the most likely path to creating that kind of significant wealth.
Roger that. And now, if entrepreneurship alone isn't enough, then Homer, what are some of the best practices that you see entrepreneurs, doing on a regular basis that, makes them wealthy and highly successful?
Yeah, I think the first one is a really deep commitment to achieving success or achieving that significant wealth. The second part is the business model. Is it a business model that can lead to that kind of wealth? The third part is you need to have really great relationships throughout your business as well as those surrounding your business. And then, maybe a little bit biased, but I also believe you need to have the right team of professionals, both within the business and also on your personal wealth, to make sure you're optimizing everything that's going on around the business as well.
Sure. I mean, there's not enough that can be said to having an effective team around you. And because that way it's, as the business owner, the entrepreneur, they don't feel like they have to wear all the different hats, and be experts on a massive amount of different subject matters. They can trust their team. They can, really lean on their given expertise, their degrees, their certifications, all the things that comprise a good team. So that's a really important one. And we're going to get into that in a little bit, but I want to, start with the first one. Really, let's examine that key factor a little more closely. That's that a commitment to achieve. Now, I know this one almost goes without being said, but walk me through what this commitment truly looks like. It is, in the word, it is a commitment. So what does that look like to you?
Most of the business owners I work with are founder-led companies. So they started the business, maybe 10, 20, 30 years ago. And what I see with them is they've had this extremely deep commitment, kind of no matter what's going on. So, things aren't always going to be going well. And to have that persistence to achieve, no matter what's in front of them, oftentimes these owners, it's not till they've been into it for 20 or 30 years where they finally see that success pay off. And, oftentimes that comes with sacrifice. Sometimes it's sacrificing some level of family time or other things they might want to be doing in order to get that business through those difficult times and ultimately to the level of success that they want. And, what I find though, is that really it's not about the money. They do want to create significant wealth, but it's not just for wealth's sake. They really have this desire to build this successful company for many other reasons, whether it's for their employees and making sure their employees have a great place to go, but oftentimes it's for their family and creating that wealth to make sure their family's going to be okay, or taking care of causes they care about, or oftentimes they're driven because they want to make some major difference in the world. And so it's really that deep commitment. Without that, they're not able to really do the things that they want to do to get through those tough times to create that level of wealth.
Sure, sure. And the commitment, while yes, it is such an important part of generating wealth, it's really the first step. You got to be able to do the next step, and that's to take action, right? That's equally as important. What does the action step look like to you?
Yeah, I think it'd be nice, right, if we just wanted to create significant wealth and it just materialized. But the reality is, along with that hard work, is you have to have a plan and you have to have goals. And then you have to find out what are the tasks and the behaviors that need to be done in order to achieve those goals. So it's a lot of work that goes into making sure that you can actually, fulfill the obligations that you need to do. So it's really taking that commitment, taking that vision of what you want this company to look like, and then making sure you can actually operationalize it with your team and all the steps and actions needed to get there.
So Homer, I want to move now into that second key factor that you had mentioned for us, and it's really the discussion surrounding the business model. How vitally important is a viable business model when it comes to wealth creation as a whole?
Well, it's critically important. In the work that we do with our business owners, we're helping them evaluate their business from a lot of different angles and directions. And we really look at 18 different value drivers within the business. And quite a few of them are really wrapped all around this idea of the business model. Do they have a differentiated product or service? Are they in a niche market that allows them to, have some advantages that they wouldn't otherwise have? And, oftentimes though, people get this misconception about, business model, and that, the wealthiest people, their business model was something that was brand new. They created it kind of out of thin air. And because it was brand new, it's what led to all that wealth. But the reality is, most of the successful business models out there, or most of the most successful entrepreneurs out there, they created that wealth by making something better. And I think the easiest example to think about is Jeff Bezos and Amazon. Amazon he did not think of Amazon in the world that it is today. At first, it was just to make a better bookstore. And so I think that's something that's really critical to keep in mind, is that doing better, really proves to be the most pervasive and most successful way of entrepreneurship.
Sure. Now, you had mentioned the team building idea earlier in the show, but first, it all starts really with relationships, and it's the age-old adage, Homer. It's not what you know, it's who you know. So walk me through this third key factor that you mentioned earlier in terms of building powerful relationships and how that can impact wealth creation. What's that look like?
Yeah, I think along with all these other ideas of this deep commitment by the entrepreneur, when you look at most successful companies, there's also a deep commitment by the people within the company that are supporting that business owner, that entrepreneur, and really that team effort comes from having a shared vision where they really believe in what's going on within the business, and really they want the business to succeed. And this is one I think for me is also one I'm constantly working on, is how can I be a better leader to my team and get them to buy in, because I think if they buy in to what we're trying to do, they're going to work much harder to achieve. And I think that's pretty common across the most successful companies out there. And I think that also extends really even beyond your team, so your employees. But most businesses have suppliers, they have vendors, they have other people surrounding the business that are very critical to it. And that same relationship building needs to extend to those groups as well.
Sure, sure. Now, I'd love to kind of switch gears to what we had mentioned earlier in the team. So building that team is a lot easier said than done. You want the right individuals in the right positions so that, you as the business owner or the entrepreneur can trust that they're going to execute their task, their job to the fullest and do it well. So that being said, you've walked this walk of entrepreneurship. You've gone through this process. Do you have any advice really or insights maybe on how to go about building and then of course maintaining that high quality team that you need to generate significant wealth?
I mean, the best advice I can give in what I see, not only around creating good teams, but just achieving goals in general, is this idea of living in alignment. And so, the business owner, entrepreneur is going to have this vision, this idea, this goal of where they want to take the company. And they've got to make sure that the individuals working for them are aligned with that vision, and that their individual goals are aligned with that. So if you can do that, if you can help them achieve success individually, and that's aligned with their own self-interest, and that self-interest is aligned with the company's success, that's going to be, to me, the biggest connector to how to build those relationships and have them win along the way as well.
Roger that. Now, Homer, the fourth really key driver of significant wealth here is just this willingness to engage with the right professionals. Now, this is an interesting one because when you're first starting out as an entrepreneur, you need business. You need to be able to do that to keep the doors open, to keep your employees, paid, so on and so forth. But engaging with the right professionals, meaning generating the right relationships with clients, working with the right companies. It all sounds good, but in theory, it's a little more difficult probably than it is in terms of just easily being able to be achieved. So explain this key driver a little bit more to me, please, because this is a tough one.
To me, this really is pretty critical. Again, I think I mentioned earlier, I'm a little biased because I am in this world of supporting business owners achieve their goals, both professionally and personally. But to me, I think that this is pretty critical because I think most people look at wealth managers, financial advisors as focused on investments, and I think we do a good job of that. If we do a really good job, and let's say we helped our clients get an extra 1% rate of return every year on their investments, that could translate to tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe seven figures over time if we do a really good job over a very long period of time. But if we can help our clients grow the value of their business by taking the risk out of it, helping them look at their business from how to create sustainable profits and cash flow, how to create sustainable growth, and ultimately how to defend that equity by looking at their business from the eye of a buyer and addressing the key issues within their business. If we can help them improve the value of their firm by 20-25%, that could be easily millions of dollars of value added in there. On the other side, on their personal wealth side, looking at things like wealth enhancement and looking at taxes and how do we reduce their overall tax burden, again, not only short term, but over the long run, could have significantly more ultimate value to that business owner entrepreneur than an extra rate of return could. Wealth transfer, how do they successfully transfer their business to the next generation or to an outside buyer, and transfer their wealth to the second generation within their family. From previous conversations we've had, a significant amount of wealth is often lost by the end of that second generation. So how do we help them preserve that? Asset protection, wealth protection. How do we help you, all this wealth that you've created? What if a frivolous lawsuit came along and ended up causing you to have a lot of that wealth at risk? And so how do we make you an unattractive target and protect that? It's not necessarily creating new wealth, but if we can help you avoid losing it along the way, again, could be massively valuable. And other things like charitable giving. So we talked earlier about a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs are really driven by making a difference in the world or for the causes they care about, and how do we help you magnify and maximize that gift. So all of those strategies, when we look at all that together, the combination of the personal wealth planning with the business planning, having the right team of professionals that can kind of cross both of those lines for you and help you look at all of that together, to me is going to be a huge factor in helping you maximize, optimize that wealth.
And Homer, you, as we have mentioned, you've walked this walk. You've been an entrepreneur before, and walking through these four key drivers for us, it's all super beneficial information. Aside from just these four drivers themselves, is there anything that you would want to share with our audience? Maybe a lesson learned from your own experiences of something that you believe that's super important that entrepreneurs keep in mind, as they move through this, creation of a company, the maintaining of these relationships between not only clients, but of course also staffing, anything that you've experienced in your time, as an entrepreneur and a business owner that you wish maybe somebody would have shared with you when you were going through the process.
That's an interesting question. I don't know if I was really prepared for that one, but I think, I do think that what we've talked about really does encompass it for the most part. I mean, I think that, making sure you're taking time to evaluate what you really want out of this, and making sure that you're aligned. I think we talk about that a lot with our clients around this idea of alignment, not just alignment with your goals and what you're doing to achieve those goals, but really bringing your values into it and the why behind all of this, and making sure that, again, are you, when a business owner, when I ask them, what is the goal of the business? And they say, I want $100 million business. And we might ask, the why question, why 100 million? Every now and then we do kind of get just because it sounds good. Okay, well, if we can't ultimately align that with, their goals, their behaviors, are they really willing to do what it takes to get there? That goal's not going to be ultimately achieved. And so I think it's really getting down to, because not every business owner wants to create, significant wealth. Oftentimes business owners, want their business for lifestyle reasons. It's something they really love and have a lot of passion around. They're not really interested in creating a lot of wealth around it because of what it would take to do that. They're not willing or wanting or needing to do what it would take to build significant wealth around that. So I think at the end of the day, it's really about that alignment, understanding what you value, what are the goals that are going to need to be achieved to get you to what you value, and then what are those behaviors, those activities, those action items that are going to ultimately get you there, and just making sure that you're living in alignment at all times is going to be ultimately what leads to the most likelihood of you achieving that.
Well, yeah, I appreciate you. I know I caught you a little off guard with that one, but I appreciate you kind of reaching deep and thinking about it. It really does come down to the why. Your why is so important. It carries you through your day-to-day interactions, let alone your long-term goals with your business. So, Homer, these four key drivers are fantastic. I appreciate you kind of, sharing them with our audience, allowing them to kind of resonate with everybody that's watching today. And look, I appreciate the conversation, and I'm looking forward to the next one already, man.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
And hey, look, we want to take one last moment here to thank anyone who was checking us out today, whether it be on the Facebook live stream or after the fact on a podcasting platform. We appreciate you being here for the episode. So please do us a favor. Feel free to comment on the show, subscribe to it on whichever platform you're checking us out on, and of course, share this information.